You took a hit of weed to relax, but 20 minutes later, your heart is racing, your thoughts are spiraling. You're convinced something is terribly wrong. You thought cannabis was supposed to calm you down, not make you feel like you're dying. So, what just happened? And why do some people feel weed calms them down while for others it sends them into full blown panic? Today, I'm breaking down the science behind cannabis and anxiety, including the one factor that determines whether it calms your nervous system or throws gasoline on the fire. Hi, I'm Dr. Air, integrative psychiatrist and lifestyle physician. Quick story about Marcus. He's 42, married with 2 kids, high stress job, sleep's been terrible for months, anxiety was through the roof. A friend told him cannabis would help him relax, so he tried an edible one night. Within an hour, he was convinced he was having a heart attack. His chest felt tight, his thoughts were racing, he couldn't catch his breath. His wife drove him to the ER, they ran tests, everything came back normal. The doctor said, "You had a panic attack, probably triggered by the THC." Marcus was confused. "I thought weed was supposed to help anxiety." Here's the truth. Cannabis doesn't have one effect on anxiety. It has 2 opposite effects, and which one you get depends on your brain, your dose, and the type of cannabis you're using. Let me explain. Cannabis is both an anxiety reliever and an anxiety trigger. Some people take it and feel calm, grounded, present. Others take it and feel anxious, paranoid, and distressed. Same plants, opposite outcomes. Why? Because THC, the psychoactive compound of cannabis, doesn't just do one thing in your brain. Rather, it activates the endocannabinoid system, which has receptors throughout your nervous system. Think of these receptors like light switches scattered throughout your brain. When THC flips those switches, some lights turn on, others turn off. In your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thinking and emotional regulation, THC can increase activity. This helps you focus, feel present, and quiet the stress response. But in your amygdala, your brain's threat detection center, THC can suppress activity. This reduces fear and hypervigilance. So far, so good. But here's where it gets tricky. Low doses of THC tend to calm anxiety. High doses tend to trigger it. Studies show that low-dose THC reduce stress responses in healthy adults. But when researchers doubled the dose, anxiety and paranoia spiked. Why? Because at higher doses, THC overwhelms your endocannabinoid system. Instead of gently modulating your stress response, it floods it. Your amygdala, which was supposed to quiet down, starts firing erratically. Your prefrontal cortex loses its ability to regulate emotion. Suddenly, your brain interprets everything as a threat. That text you didn't respond to, now it's a catastrophe. The noise outside, now it's danger. Your own heartbeat, now it's proof that something's wrong. This is why Marcus panicked. He didn't take a small controlled dose. He took an edible with 25 milligrams of THC, far more than his system could handle. Here's what most people don't realize. The cannabis available today is not the same cannabis from 20 or 30 years ago. In the 1990s, the average THC content in cannabis was about 3 to 4%. Today, dispensary flowers averages 18 to 25% THC. Vape pens and concentrates 80 to 90%. Some products approach 95% THC. These high doses behave differently in your brain. A study found that people using high-potency cannabis were 5 times more likely to experience psychosis compared to non-users. Another study tracking nearly 7 million people found that cannabis-induced psychosis has the highest conversion rate to schizophrenia of any substance-induced psychosis, higher than methamphetamine, cocaine, or hallucinogens. Let that sink in. The substance people think is harmless has the highest risk of triggering long-term psychiatric problems. Now, most doctors will tell you that cannabis unmasks schizophrenia or bipolar disorder, that it reveals a condition where you are always going to develop. I don't think that's the full story. I think high-potency cannabis can actually injure the brain. Think of it like a concussion. If you get hit in the head once, you might recover fully. But if you keep getting hit over and over, your brain doesn't bounce back the same way. Cannabis works the same way in vulnerable brains. One bad trip might resolve in a few days, but repeated exposure to high-potency THC That can cause lasting changes in brain structure and function. A 2024 study found that adolescents exposed to high-potency THC showed cortical thinning, reduced dendritic spine density, and hyperactivation of microglia, the brain's immune cells. In plain language, their brain cells lost connections. Their neurons became less complex. Their brains started pruning healthy pathways. This isn't unmasking a condition. This is damage. And for some people, that damage looks like chronic anxiety, paranoia, or full-blown psychosis. So how do you know if cannabis will calm your anxiety or trigger it? Unfortunately, there's no way to predict it. It doesn't matter if you're naturally anxious or naturally calm. It doesn't matter if you're introverted or extroverted. Some people's brains tolerate THC well, others don't. But we do know a few risk factors. If you've ever had a panic attack or severe anxiety from cannabis before, your brain is telling you something. Don't ignore it. If you have a family history of psychosis, bipolar disorder, or schizophrenia, cannabis is especially risky. If you're under 25, your brain is still developing. THC can interfere with that process in ways that don't show up until years later. And if you're using high-potency products, dabs, shatter, vape pens with 80% THC, you're essentially playing with fire. Here's something else most people don't talk about: cannabis withdrawal. If you've been using cannabis regularly to manage anxiety and you try to stop, your anxiety often gets worse. This is because your brain has adapted to it. Your endocannabinoid system has downregulated. Your natural production of calming neurotransmitters has dropped. So when you stop, your nervous system goes haywire. You feel irritable, anxious, restless. You can't sleep. And the only thing that makes it better? More cannabis. This is the trap. The drug that was supposed to help your anxiety is now causing it, and you need it to feel normal. If cannabis is making your anxiety worse, here's what you need to know. First, stop using it, especially if you've had a severe reaction. Your brain is telling you it can't handle this compound. You can get help from a mental health provider to supervise this process. Second, give yourself time to heal. If you've had a cannabis-induced panic attack or psychotic episode, it can take weeks, sometimes months, for your brain to fully recover. Third, support your nervous system. Omega-3s, magnesium, and B vitamins can help stabilize mood and reduce inflammation. Fourth, prioritize sleep. Cannabis disrupts REM sleep and circadian rhythms. Restoring healthy sleep is critical for healing. If you're struggling with sleep after stopping cannabis, I've created a free guide that walks you through the exact steps to reset your sleep naturally. You'll find the link in the description. And fifth, if you're experiencing prolonged anxiety or psychosis after using cannabis, work with a psychiatrist who understands drug-induced brain injuries, not just someone who will label you with a lifelong diagnosis and put you on antipsychotics indefinitely. Here's the bottom line. Cannabis isn't harmless. It's not just the plant. It definitely has its benefits, and many people benefit from medicinal cannabis for chronic pain, nausea, muscle spasticity, and other medical conditions. For some others, cannabis can result in severe mental issues, including anxiety, insomnia, and psychosis. If you're dealing with anxiety that feels out of control, check out the next video to learn about a very common medication used to treat anxiety.